All right, hello. I think I'm live right now. Hello, you badass UX leaders. If you can hear me, type in UX in the chat right now. All right, we got Vinay, Leah. They call me Carol, so Carol. All right, awesome. I see a lot of exclamation marks for Carol, so kudos to that. All right, well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining. Firstly, welcome again. This is the second live stream. We ran one this morning, but you're just as cool. I wanted to make sure that everyone across different time zones were able to experience this live chat, and want to meet all of you as well. Chia Yickman, hello. First of all, I want to hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. I'm pretty excited and less nervous because I got to get through all the kinks this morning. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. If you notice any problems with the live stream, just leave it in the chat. Let me know. Ralph, hello. I think I remember you from the first session this morning. Cool. So speaking of the live chat, where is everybody joining from today? Just type it into the chat. Let me know where you're from. As for me, I am in the beautiful Bay Area, California. Pretty good weather. Although I think it's going to rain soon. All right. We got New York City. We got Texas. Ooh, San Francisco, New Jersey, Phoenix, Pennsylvania, New York. Hello, Karina, Dr. Vision, Samal, Nicole, Katan, Ben. We got Seattle, Amelia. Hello from Central Coast. Awesome. All over the world, all over the U.S., West Coast, East Coast, Midwest. That's amazing. Thank you all for joining. Woo, this is awesome. We got, hello, Haley from Louisiana, Toronto. Hey. Welcome to this live stream. If you're just trickling in, how this is going to work is I'm going to be answering your questions live. So if you want to type in your questions, not just yet, I'm going to go over a couple of kind of basic ones so we all are on the same page. We don't have to ask the same things. I know a lot of you have sent me questions beforehand, so I'm going to start with those. Because I noticed them to be, kind of the same theme. I was kind of doing an affinity diagramming with the questions that you sent me. A lot of them had to do with salary, career-wise, technical ones, and some questions about the pandemic. So, yeah. So let me share this screen. Kristen from New York City, awesome. We got some questions trickling in already. So first thing I'll do is share my screen for this. And we're going to go over a couple of basic questions first, and then we can jump into the live stuff. All right, cool. Thank you for joining all, by the way. So, so at the request of one fellow researcher who really wanted to support my channel, but I had nowhere to do that, I just started a Patreon. If you want to support the channel, help me make better content for you, help me help you. You get some pretty cool perks. I set some levels that can hopefully be pretty affordable and also help a lot of you out. So including monthly live streams, chats, meetups with me, get some phone calls, resume reviews, and whatnot. So go check it out. Yeah. Let's talk about kind of the background of UX research, where it has been and where it's going. So if you look at the Google Trends chart for UX research, 6 years ago, there was really no interest. And that was kind of the time where I started to get in. It was 2014. And as you can see, it's trending up. So for those of you concerned about the future of UX research, I would say the future of UX research is pretty bright. As companies start to realize that, hey, UX research is a specialized role, help us strategize, solving the right problems for the right people. More and more companies are hiring for them. More and more companies are realizing for the first time they're hiring UX researchers. So I think this field's only going to grow. I know there has been concerns about, this job could be automated away. I don't know. I don't know how well you can automate that right now. I mean, maybe one day, but in the near future, I think it's pretty bright. So you're all jumping in at the right time. This is the right time to get into UX research. So I'm excited to help you all out in your UX research journey. Alrighty. Okay, so salary-wise, let's start with this question. A, B, C, D, or E. What do you think the average salary of a UX researcher is in the United States? And let's start with the United States. So type that in the chat, which one you think it is right now. All right, we got Nakamura from Japan. Awesome. Crystal. Hi, Crystal. So, all right, we got some C's, we got some B's. Haley says D. Bea says D, or C. Ben says D. Bea says C. All right, E. Oh, Ralph, you already know the answer, so don't don't type your answer in. All right, cool. So the answer is, a lot of you are close, but the answer is D. It's actually 125,000. Oh, oops. It's 125,000 based on a report that just came out from the UX Research Collective. So they literally just released this report this past week. So go check it out. I linked it up here. This one's based on United States salary on 560 people. Now, obviously, you're going to have really high salaries in New York and San Francisco. That's going to skew this number up. Whereas in other states, it's not going to be as high. So this is just the average. The median is somewhere around 90,000, 97,000, I believe. So, and yeah, Haley, it is a lot. The median is 97. So I would kind of take this number as the average. And again, it really depends on what company you work for and the location. And if you're living in San Francisco, the rent is too darn high. So it kind of makes up for it. So let's take a look at this chart. The average salary based on years of experience. The more years you have, the higher your salary. If you're just starting out as a junior, you're at about 82,000. As you progress, you're going to get 3 to 6 years at 134. If you have 10 plus years, 160,000. Now, really, it comes down to what you can expect. Don't use these numbers as the holy grail truth. These are just averages. It's going to depend on what level, where you're from, and where you're working, and your levels of experience. So let's talk a little bit about average salaries in different countries. So for the European Union and UK, we have 64,000 based on a sample of 77. In Canada, the average salary is 61,000. And I did a little bit of research for an Asia estimate and found that Singapore UX researchers make around $50,000 a year. All right, and next I'm just going to this is not something I've never done before other than this morning, but show you how much I made. And the purpose isn't to show you how much I make, rather it's to show you what you could expect to make and the range you could expect in your first job. So at my first ever UX research job, this was in 2014 at Volkswagen, which is not considered a tech company, and I had like 0 years of experience. And I was making $26 an hour. And as I progressed, as I moved to different companies, I made more and more. I'm not going to tell you how much I make now, but this is just to give you an idea of how much you could expect maybe. And just a note, typically contracting, if you're contracting with a company, expect your hourly rates to be 20%-ish higher than your full-time salary rates. And that's because you won't get the benefits of a salary position, such as your medical or vision. You're going to have to buy that separately with your contract agency. So yeah, hope that was helpful. I know everyone wants to ask, but I've never actually talked about it on my channel, so there you go. All right, so back to the Q&A. Yeah, start putting your questions down in the chat, and I know I definitely won't be able to get to every single question, so bear with me. I will, oops, let's bring this back. All right, I will upload this video later on, so you'll know. As you come up with the questions, I'm gonna just answer a couple that came in beforehand. All right. All right, and if you're just joining now, we're just doing live Q&As. We just went over average salaries for UX research, and I see a couple questions from LU and Vinay. I'll get to those definitely. This comes from Fohan. I think that's how I pronounce your name. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Fohan. On a typical day, are there busy or slow times, or is work consistently steady? Yeah, definitely there are busy and slow times. It sometimes depends on your team's timeline right now and what your engineers might be doing. It depends on what others are doing, because you're working in a team. You don't really, you don't work alone. So sometimes I've had situations where engineers are working on a project and they're finishing up, and then the team comes to me and says, hey Kevin, the engineers are going to be finished with their projects next month. We have to give them something to build, so do your research right now. And I think that is one of the craziest reasons to do research, is based on the availability of the engineering team. So sometimes there are times like that where you're rushed, and that comes into some leadership skills, into saying, well, is this the right type of research we need? And why is this timeline based on the engineering's availability? You know, those are times where you have to kind of start talking with your team and setting expectations. There are slow times as well. For example, I'm furloughed, so definitely no work right now. I'm taking care of myself though. And if you're in a similar situation, I hope that everything is going well, and let me know how I can help you, or how others can help you as well. Okay. So, alrighty, let's get to the question. I'm going to scroll up. And Vinay asks, how do we defend the value of our user research with stakeholders who are expecting out-of-the-world revelations from our research? If our insights sound like common sense. Oh, I like this question a lot. Sometimes I do feel like the insights that I provide are common sense. Like, of course we know this. Why did we waste time doing this research? And that's sometimes how I feel. How do you defend the value in that case? I think it goes back to setting expectations in the kickoff meeting, the first meeting that you have your stakeholders. It's, why are we doing this research? What are we going to do with the research once we get the data? And who are we going to target? Right? All these questions I have in a video on how to kick off a UX research meeting. Right? All the questions you should ask to align with your stakeholders to make sure you're doing impactful research right from the get-go, and not just being thrown research and expected to do like amazing things. I know it's sometimes hard. Sometimes you might do some kind of usability testing and find obvious findings. Well, in that case, I've definitely have situations like that. In that case, I would say, hey, this validates what we already know. So what's next? Don't spend too much time on it. It's only going to do more damage. Just kind of move. Just say, this validates what we already know. That's good. And maybe provide a little bit more insight that you didn't see from before, and then move on from there. All right. Okay. Swatini Ramesh. Hello, Swatini. From Seattle. Hey. Love Seattle. How do I select a project for my first portfolio? Can you share your first portfolio work? Yes, I will share my first portfolio work. I'm going to type it in the chat right now. It is so rudimentary. It is from a long time ago, so don't judge, or judge all you want. This is the first ever blog that I put together, and that's what I presented to my first research job ever. It's sucky, but it's work that I kind of put together on the side. And how do you select one? It is, if you have projects you can talk about already, pick those that are impactful, complex, and ones that you're really proud of. To be honest, if you pick something that's pretty decent but you are so bored presenting it, I want to see some passion as well. When I hire some researchers, like, be passionate about your work. So complexity, challenging work, ones where you showed initiative in terms of leadership, and impact. Those are the things where you want to consider when you pick your portfolio project. All right. Cool. All right, so I'm just scrolling through the chat. I know this is not the best UX in terms of a live stream, but that's just, if anyone wants to do a research study on that, there's an idea for you. Okay, LU asks, what's the structure of an online portfolio for UX designers? This channel is like very research heavy, or at least tailored for UX research. But I think the portfolio for UX designers could benefit from some of the same tips that I would give, which is focus on your process as a researcher or as a UX person. Have the background, summarize your background, objectives, why you're doing the research, or why you're doing this project in the first place, how you collaborate it with others, your methods, how you went about doing research to inform your design. And if you're a designer, you can focus a little bit more on your deliverables, your prototypes, more so than if you're a researcher. But don't spend like 5 slides showing all the different pixels and red lines that you did. Just the most important thing is why you make the change and how did you decide to make the change. And it should always be based on research. So I do have videos for what to include in your research portfolio, so go check those videos out. Crystal, hi Crystal. How's the job market now for UX research due to pandemic? What is your thought, Kev? No one's called me Kev in a long time, but the job market right now for UX research, honestly, it really depends on the type of company. Google, Facebook, they're hiring like nothing has happened, honestly. But companies like mine, where we have to do with tickets and buying tickets to events, well, all the events are canceled. No one's buying tickets. So for certain types of industries, it's heavily impacted. No one's gonna hire for those. And so right now, I think look forward to when this thing is over, hopefully soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and prepare yourself for that. And start looking right now. Start doing whatever you would do during a normal job hunting process, which is network, up-level your skills, and find ways into the field. Yeah, the job hunt doesn't change. Job market. So Haley asks, what would you say is the best major for UX research? Well, I have a video for majors that happen to do UX research a lot, and those are, off the top of my head, is psychology, sociology, anthropology, human factors, human-computer interaction, stuff like that, where it's about human behavior, about researching how people think, feel, and behave, and also how ergonomics and human-computer interaction. Those are more focused towards UX. So those are common ones. But honestly, if you love biology, I majored in biology, and it was helpful for me because there was a lot of experiments that I have to design, and it's all based on UX, the scientific method. Anything that has to do with research and the scientific method, I know one person who was a physics major who got into UX research. because they just know how to do research, and they're pretty good at talking to people too. So major wise, those are the top ones. If you wanna focus in on those. But hey, if you're interested in economics or marketing, go for it. There's tons of people in marketing who are trying to transition to UX research. So I think it's totally cool. All right. Hope that helps. All right. Carol asks, how do I come up with a project with no portfolio trying to enter the UX industry? I'm a graduate student studying neuroscience and HCI. Great question. Just, my advice for people without a portfolio is to not wait for people to give you portfolio projects. You got to go and find projects, either through your company or opportunities for volunteer work, nonprofits, or if you want to do it my way, which is just whatever project you're interested in, problems that you notice in everyday life, make a project out of that. I just mentioned, for example, this live stream chat is really hard to navigate when I'm answering Q&A. So that's a project right there. What you might want to include in your project are use of different methods, because you want to showcase to the interviewers that I'm more than just a usability tester. I'm more than just a survey writer. I'm more than just an interviewer. Right? I know how to do these different methods. I know when to use different types of methods and why. Your portfolio should really showcase your rationale for your decision making. Why did you do things? And less about what you did. Yeah. So, hope that's helpful. Ben, so I know some people have been asking multiple questions. I'm going to go through some that haven't asked their questions yet, just to give everyone a fair chance for their questions. But I'll try to get back to everybody. Ben, do you have advice for a PhD graduate trying to create a reasonable portfolio out of research projects? So it kind of ties into my previous answer. But for a psych PhD, you're probably working on a dissertation, multiple years long project. That could be a good thing to talk about, and I know a lot of PhD folks do talk about their projects that way. And the one thing that you want to make sure to emphasize is the impact of your research. And a lot of the times, it is the outcome of a PhD dissertation. And I'm not saying this is true for you or a lot of everyone. Some of them is more research is needed, and I don't think that's a good enough impact. So think about how this could be useful for the industry, how your skills as a researcher could be applied, and then emphasize those. In terms of research and experimentation design, you've got it down. Just emphasize that part. And really, I would also include in your resume UX focus, more UX focus. Take some classes on UX, show them that you're serious about UX, and not just, I'm just going to jump from my PhD to UX, which can happen, but show them that you can, that you're serious about it as well by doing those extra classes as well. Okay. This is an oversight on my part. Day L asks, what exactly are stakeholders? Is it the other people who need your research and then you present the research results to them? Great question. Yes, these are the people that you work with every day as a researcher. Typical people you might work with are product managers, designers, sales, engineers, marketing, data scientists, etc. Basically anyone who needs research done. But your best friends are going to be your product managers and designers. Yeah. Types of questions they might come to you and ask are, how do I engage more users? Or, hey, we noticed that engagement has been decreasing. Why? We need to find out why and prevent it. Okay. All right. Daria. Hello, Daria. Recognize you from earlier. Could you recommend some literature to grow knowledge about business needs? Yes. business needs. So I took a course on Coursera. I'm going to type it in the chat right now. It is called Advanced Business Strategies or Competitive Business Strategies. That's a course that I took to kind of learn about business and how businesses approach tactics and ways to grow their business. That's one. Business books I have to kind of understand more about business. Let me pick some out from here. Okay, I definitely had some more, but these are two that I enjoy. The Lean Startup, which will get you up to speed on how lean and agile workplaces work. Yeah, shout out to Lean Startup. This is the other one, Blue Ocean Strategy. And I mentioned these in my 12 books to up your, in another video basically. This is how to create uncontested market space and make the competition irrelevant. Great title. So these are two that you might want to start with if you want that business acumen. There's also a lot of podcasts that I like to listen to. So yeah, be sure to check those out on my podcast video. Ooh, we got a lot of good questions here. Okay. Ralph. Okay, Ralph says 101 things I learned in business school. I haven't heard of that one, but I'll be sure to check that out. Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, man. Always the Legend asks, what a cool name, Always the Legend. What's the best way to apply for a UX research job? I have 2 degrees, Cog Sci and Psych, never been called for an interview. I gave up and now I do SEO development, but I want to become a dev or UX. No. Well, don't give up. There are cases where I've, gone through really tough times where I thought I should also give up. But you have 2 really solid degrees, really good foundations for research and UX research. So the only thing is, well, I'd have to understand more your situation, but the best way to apply is make sure your resume is tailored towards UX. Take some courses. What I did on my resume, my first ever resume, by the way, I might make a video for this, is I only had psychology research, right? I didn't have any UX research. So what I did was take online courses on UX, human-computer interaction, survey design, gamification, business strategies, design thinking. What I did was add a section for education and just listed relevant courses. And so that helped me get a call from recruiters, and they're like, okay, I see you've taken some classes. That's not enough to get you the job, because who cares if you've taken classes? You got to do the work and show that you've done the work. So that's your next step. Show some work, start building out your portfolio. If you need help, I got some videos for that. And network, learn from people, get coffee with people, online Zoom coffees now. And yeah, just keep going that way. Go to events, meetups, stuff like this. And what you want to do is show that you're passionate about this. Show that you're really putting in the work, that you're serious about transitioning. And what I know, someone has asked for referrals. And how referrals work is someone's got to put you in the system and say, how long have I known this person? How well do I know this person? How well do I think their work speaks for themselves? So if they don't know you, that's kind of hard to do. But if you talk to them and show them your research and show them your potential, that's really important as well. So networking as well. So those are some tips I would give you. All right. Alrighty. Cool. So Zero asks, well, your name is Zero, but it's soon going to be Zero to UX. What's the difference between a UX researcher and a human factors engineer? Human factors engineers are really more common in manufacturing or kind of stuff where you build things like aerospace or vehicles, stuff like that. It's less about software. I think it's more hardware, because human factors has to do with like attention and well, actually both, right? But they're more common in those industries. They map out one-to-one, I would say. Same skills, you need the same skills in terms of research, but you're going to have to use different methods. Like probably eye tracking is one that human factors engineers might use. UX researchers, it's not as common to do eye tracking, but the difference is the type of industry that you're working in. Nakamura Masatoshi, how do you provide ROI as a UX designer? Ooh, okay. So this is a question that's it's very common for all UX people. How do we show the return on investment for UX? And you notice how I said, how do you show it, right? You do good work. I think the problem is some people spend too much time talking about the ROI rather than showing the ROI. And that's the best way to do it, right? Show them instead of talking about it. And that comes with finding allies in your company. Start with people who do believe in UX research. Make allies. Talk with them. Work on projects with them. Find impactful projects. Do great work. And if you can save the business money, they're going to perk their ears up and they're going to be like, all right, tell us more. Right? Show them the value. Cool. Samal asks, what's your interaction like with product managers? Great question. And guess what? All of you watching right now, you're the first to know that on Tuesday, I'm releasing a video about me and a product manager. So we have a conversation about our interaction with each other. So be sure to check it out. But to give you a short kind of summary is product managers, they own the project in some way, and we work really closely because sometimes a lot of the questions that they have are really ambiguous, and as researchers you got to be okay with that ambiguous nature of the work. They expect you, well, I would say UX researchers are like the flashlight for product managers. Show them the way to take the product based on research, and that's it. They come to you with questions like, help us find out what the best strategy, what the best way to move forward with is, and you do the research to inform that. Okay. And I've had situations where some product managers are more hands-off. It's kind of difficult because you're always going to be, you're putting yourself in a situation where they're going to question you later. I've been in situations with product managers who love to be part of your research. They sit in every session. They're always interested in what the users have to say. Those are the best product managers, the ones who love research and want to be part of it. So make sure you start involving them in your research, and then you'll have happy days with your product managers. All right, cool. So I see some good interactions in the chat. Thank you. Yeah, these are really great questions. Thank you all for putting these in. I know everyone has great thoughts, and these are uncertain times, so I'll do my best to help you all. Killian asks, can you break down the research process in industry versus academia? Is there an ethics funding proposal, and how are reports generally communicated? All right, good question. So the difference between UX research and academic research is, I think on a high level, academic research is for the pursuit of knowledge, and UX research, let's face it, it's the pursuit of money for businesses. No, I mean, okay, fine, it's the pursuit of a better user experience for you users. But, of course, the bottom line, which is going to be money for the business. As researchers, we got to balance the business needs and the user's needs. Academia, it's kind of, the timelines are different. It's way longer in academia. It's shorter in UX research. Ethics, academia goes through the Institutional Review Board, or the IRB, and that's really, really strict. And you have to think about every potential possibility of harming your participants and not doing it. In UX research, there's no review board like that. Maybe the legal team, but you, the badass UX leaders, you badass UX leaders out there, you are the Institutional Review Board. So you have to be the advocate for the user. You are the one who has to learn all the ethics to protect your users, because your product managers or designers, they might not know, and they might try to do some weird things with them that maybe borders the line of unethical, and maybe it just biases your research. So yeah, so talk with it with your team. Your legal team is also a useful place to start. How are reports communicated? Generally, they are communicated by PowerPoint or Google Slides deck, but there are fun ways to do it. Fun ways that I like to do it is kind of a mini museum. So after a research project, for example, I would take over a room, an office room, and I'd post all the post-it notes with my team. We start doing affinity diagramming, and instead of taking that down, keep it up on the room, synthesize everything, and then have people come into the room and experience it for themselves. Yeah, that's a very creative way and an engaging way to present research. Other ways that you can present your research are include videos, include quotes, get them connected with your participants more. So yeah, that's how I would do it. I have a video, part of my 7-part series on follow along, and I think part 6 is how to present your findings in a presentation deck, so check that out. All right. Chat. Ooh, the chat kind of jumps around, so I'm going to scroll back up. All right, Chelsea asks, wondering for an offline portfolio, what is the appropriate number of slides that won't bore the person but is still able to present your skills? Okay, so this question is about how long should your portfolio be. My portfolio is actually 60 slides long. It sounds like a lot, but 80% of it is pictures, and with minimal text. So your portfolio should augment your story. Like the quantity doesn't really matter, right? As long as the quality is good and your storytelling is smooth. If you need 2 slides, slides are free. I would rather see 2 slides that clearly indicate a main point on each one than multiple points, crushed into one slide. That's hard to read. So think about the density of your material and your storytelling. So focus on that. If you need portfolio help, let me know. Hope that helps. Cool. So okay. Alrighty. Thanks for all the questions, by the way. Fohan, hello again. I got a bachelor's in psychology. Worked as a CNA. I think that's certified nursing assistant. I may be wrong. CNA at a hospital. What's the best way for me with 0 experience in user research to transition? Yeah. So I have a video for this too, but kind of like what I would recommend again is network, start working on projects, take online courses. If you have opportunities at your hospital to help out any IT teams, you go talk to them. Talk to anyone who might have opportunities for you. I know it might be a little difficult when you're working with patient care, and not with the software. But if you're physicians or your nurses, use some kind of app or system. Maybe you could do some study on that. Like, hey, this a database system is really hard to use with the administrative assistant. Let me go talk to them, do some user research, propose something. And if you manage to get anyone to rebuild it or fix some minor issues, that's awesome. So you don't have to have a UX research title to do UX research work. I think everyone has to take that into account. If you don't have a UX team at your company, that's okay. That's awesome, actually, because now you're actually the UX expert. You're probably the one person who thinks about UX and your users. So use that to your advantage. All right, Karina. Hi, Karina. What books are you reading now, or suggest that you haven't mentioned in your previous videos? What books am I reading now? I read a lot of Medium articles, but I read more about business and economics books these days than I do UX research. To be honest, I think I'm listening to, what am I listening to? A lot of YouTube things, how to build YouTube stuff, because I have to. Podcasts. There are a lot of new podcasts out. I think UX Research Conversations is one. Dollars to Donuts from Steve Portugal. That one's pretty good. So go check those out. And books wise, I think I have Nudge. Yeah, here. Nudge. Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness. It's from a Nobel Prize winner. So, yeah. It's just habit, behavior change. This could be a good one. There's one that just came out from BJ Fogg. He's a scientist from Stanford. Tiny Habits, something like that. I think that's the name of the book. Check that out. Tiny Habits. A lot of things about habit formation and changing people's habits. I think that's the trend for UX research, because a lot of companies are trying to change people's behavior in some way, whether they know it or not. And through research, do it ethically, make sure it's beneficial for the user. It's really hard when you're trying to change behavior to make them addicted to things. I'm not a fan of that, but if you want to learn how to do it, read those books, and maybe you could do it for the good. Do it for the good. All right. Hyun asks, how would you study engagement? Straightforward question. I like that. Engagement. Well, first of all, break down what engagement. You're welcome, Karina. You're welcome. Engagement. Break down what engagement means. Is it monthly, weekly, yearly? If someone goes to your app once a week, is that engagement? What if they just come in every once in a while? Is that engagement? So define what engagement is first, and what you want to get out of the research. So when you're studying engagement, you want to track. You want to track long term. So what I would do is understand what has been happening in the past. What I would do is talk to the data scientists to know what people have been doing with your app or service, how often they do it, and if you can break down segments, like maybe this age group doesn't go on as much as this age group, I don't know, and does that matter to you? And define your goals, right? Track it. You can do this online with data, or you could do it through a survey. You could do this through intercept surveys on your website or your app. Constantly ask people how you're doing, how's it going? Did you find what you needed to do today? A lot of things that you can study engagement, depending on your goals, of course. So I would start there. All right. Cool. All right. And I see people answering other people's questions and having a good chat down there. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Jane asks, is having a portfolio necessary for people with a market research background? Or in other words, is it a must-have before applying for a job? So I'm going to explain the interview process for most companies. The process starts with a recruiter, and what they look for is either your resume or portfolio. So in that case, you want to be able to provide that to them before they would, reject you. If you do get past that stage and they don't require a portfolio, it's a call with the hiring manager. And if you get past that stage, you're going to have an on-site interview, which is your final one. And usually in that interview, they're going to ask you to present some of your work or a portfolio presentation. So I think it's better to just have one at the back of your just have it ready, I would say. And you don't need 10 projects. Just pick 2 or 3 to showcase. 1 or 2 actually works for a presentation. So is it necessary? It depends on the team, if they care to see. If you are like a really junior level, they might not expect you to have UX research work, but they might still expect you to show some work where you've made impact and work that you've used research. So in market research, you're probably identifying opportunities to market, tactics, what people search for online, how often they search, and then you're going to make recommendations to get more traction with your users. So that could be a project that you could talk about. So that's a long way of saying you probably don't need one, is not necessary, but I'm going to say as badass UX leaders, you should have one. That's going to put you a step ahead of the non-badass UX leaders, which I think everyone is a badass UX leader. Okay. So hope that helps answer your question. ADJYCB. I'm not going to pronounce that, but do you recommend doing a UX bootcamp? I've never explicitly talked about boot camps, like my thoughts about it, but I think if you watch a couple of my videos, you gotta kind of get a sense of how I feel about them. I think they're expensive. For some, if you have the money to spend and it's not a problem, go for it, because I think it's important for people to show that they're really committed. If they're committed and they've spent that money to take a boot camp, that's great. I like to see that commitment. If you want to do a boot camp, I would make sure that you also do something on the side to make yourself stand out, because everyone doing the boot camp is going to have the same exact portfolio as you. Everyone's going to have the same exact resume as you. So do more if you want to do the boot camp. And in terms of doing more, have some leadership ability, take initiatives on projects, learn some speaking skills. I should probably learn some speaking skills. And yeah, some business strategies would be good to kind of make yourself stand out. All right. Daniel Cheng from Hong Kong. Hello. Can you recommend UX research communities to meet more folks like me? Yeah, if you go to LinkedIn, there's a ton of UX research communities there. I think UX design and UX research strategies, that one's a big one. Yeah, just look around on LinkedIn. I think that those are the ones that come to the top of my head. Candle That Burns Bright asks, what are some tips for writing cover letters with limited research experience? Well, number one is I always like to recommend people write their cover letters. I know sometimes they're optional, but I would say do it. I like to read cover letters, and what I want to see is that it's not just a copy and paste. I can tell if it's copy and paste, and it's okay if it's some of it's copy and paste, but make sure you add something about the company, why it excites you, what are you looking for, and explain what skills you can bring. If you have limited research experience, I would definitely start by getting some research experience. I know that's not like the best answer, but I would say that's the practical answer, because there's two camps here, right? Companies that are willing to train you and companies that won't train you. And the companies that are willing to train you, there's not a lot of them. So you should probably have some research skills ready at your fingertips. So watch this channel, subscribe. I'll help you the best I can. Take some online courses. There's a lot of free ones that you can take on coursera.org. And I know sometimes they say like it costs this much for a certificate, but you can audit those courses for free, soak in all the knowledge, and you've come away a better UX researcher for free. And my videos too. Cool. So I hope that helps. All right, Norman Kang. Sup, Kevin? Sup, Norman? Caitlin Hopper asks, do you have tips for presenting research visually? There's a big focus on able to sketch and draw at university. So if you're studying interaction design, then yes, there's going to be a huge focus on design work and drawing. For researchers, you don't have to have all the skills to like make pretty things. But your portfolio is going to be your first impression. Make sure it looks nice. It doesn't have to be like super pretty. I'm more interested in your process as a researcher, your decision making, why you do certain things. What's the problem? How are you solving it? What are methods that we would use? What are methods that you considered but didn't use, and why? That's the process I want to see. Why, and not just the what. So don't focus your portfolio too much on the pretty designs unless it aids your storytelling. Okay. All right, so let's skip down a little bit. All right, so we're at the hour. I'm happy to stay an extra half hour for those of you who want to stay. That's awesome. Love all of you, and thank you for spending the time here today with me. Wherever you are, I know some of it's like nighttime for you, some of it's like morning. So thank you very much, very much. Okay, so let's plow through some of these questions. All right. Brianna, okay, so I answered your question. Cool. Jerica. Okay, so I'm just going through the chat. I love the interactions going down there. You know what? What I did this morning wasn't the live stream, and we came up. A lot of people wanted a Slack channel to kind of keep this going, keep this community channel going. So I'm gonna post that in this chat. If you want to join that Slack channel, that's where we can kind of interact with each other more. Okay, how do I invite people? Okay, share invite link. All right, so here it is. If you want to join that Slack, I just made it today based on what the Badass UX leaders requested. So this is very agile, right? Ask feedback and implement solutions. So hopefully you can join the community. I know I have a Facebook group, but it kind of sucks. Like I try my best to kind of keep it updated, but it's so hard to use. So Slack channel. And if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram. Facebook, LinkedIn. Instagram is where I kind of post stories and daily things where I can interact with you more. I might post a question like, hey, ask me a question today, and I'll answer in the story. So follow me on Instagram if you have it. Cool. All right. So I'm scrolling through, and there's a lot of great comments. Okay, Ruth Cat asks, for UX research, how much is talking to users and how much is doing desktop research? Well, I think it really depends. Desktop research is important when you're starting out a new project and you don't really understand the space. For example, I'm doing a consulting project right now. Yes, so just to answer someone else's question is like, how am I dealing with this furlough? It's okay. I have some other things that I'm keeping myself busy with. It's YouTube, obviously, doing these live streams for the first time, which love it. And I have a consulting project on the side. And for that one, I don't really understand the space. It's with a startup. And I had to do a lot of desktop research before I jumped into it. But for other projects where I have been working with the team for a pretty long time, I don't really have to do as much desktop research. Talking to users is your day to day. Talking to stakeholders is your day to day as well. So you're going to be talking to a lot of people. As an introvert, I know there's some questions about introverts. Like, I like talking to people. I need some time to recover and recharge later on. That's all. How much is talking to users? I would say 80% of the time you are planning the study. You're talking with stakeholders. You're presenting work. You're aligning with them and preparing for research. When it comes time to actually do the research, it could be 2 days, 3 days of interviews. So in a typical 2-week project, let's give an example here. 2-week project, the first week is planning, and then 1 or 2 days I'm talking to users, and then the rest of the time is analysis and then presenting the work. So out of 10 days, 2 of those days is like talking to users, just to give you an example. That's not true for every single project. It's going to vary, but there you go. Alrighty, Mabel Tan. Hello, Mabel. I think I recognize your name. Do I? I don't know. I got a question about UX research take-home test. How I would scale research on one research question across a few markets. I did not manage to answer well. Haha, sweaty face. How might you approach it? Okay, so this is an interview question. If you want help with interview questions, 02ux.com/mock-interviews. But scale research across a few markets. So if you're one person, you obviously can't be in a few markets unless you have a ridiculous timeline, right? One way you could do is remote studies, online studies, unmoderated studies, or if you need to talk to people in person, then train some other people, right? Train other designers or product managers on how to do their own research and help you team up on doing the research. So you might do research in one market and make sure the other teammates can go and do research in the other markets. But you got to make sure it's valid and everyone's doing it the same way. But other than that, that's in person talking to people. I would probably approach it by doing unmoderated studies, just because that's more scalable, and you can reach all over the world without spending too much time talking with people one-on-one. Okay, so that's how I would approach it. I see a chat from Raymundo. What's up, man? A long time no see. I remember you. Hope you're doing well, man. Should definitely catch up sometime. Oh, so good to hear from you. I'll get to your question in a bit. I'll get to your question now. Okay, well, this might answer some questions that other people might have in the same career path. But the question from Raymundo is, how do I switch from engineering to UX? Where do I start? So what I would say is, if you've worked with UX people, talk to them, chat with them. And that's if you've worked with UX people, I know you have before, you worked with me before, that you understand their process. And if you understand their process, you can kind of get a better idea of what they have to do. And definitely learn the research skills, take some online courses, watch my YouTube videos, and get the research chops down. Know the methods, know interviews, usability, card sort, that Nielsen Norman group picture of all the different methods on the quadrant. Learn all those methods, or at least be familiar with them and know when to apply them. If you're able right now, if you're in the engineering position and you have UX people on your team, ask them for tips. Maybe shadow them and learn how they're doing their process today. Like work more closely with them so you understand their things, and continue to network and take some courses. And talk to me. Hope that helps. All right. Cool. Hope you're all enjoying this live stream Q&A and doing well, and yeah, a lot of good questions here. Jerica says, I'm quite introverted, but I love UX. Seems to be a profession that requires lots of communications between users. Yeah, and Ralph, basically what Ralph said. If you expose yourself more, it's less about, it could be scary, right? One of the fears that I had when I first started UX research was people watching me moderate sessions. And it was so nerve-wracking. My manager would watch, and I'm like, oh my goodness, she's gonna judge me. Am I doing things wrong? Just kind of the mental heckler that goes on in your mind. And one of those things about that situation is just focus on the participant that's right in front of you. Focus on the person, because the spotlight effect makes us think that people care about us more than they actually do. And it's so true. In that case, you're interested in the participant. You want to learn what they think. It's not about you. And the other way to prepare, if you're introverted or you're kind of nervous about the work, and this goes for anyone else, right? Even if you're not an introvert, how you prepare for your work is planning, really understanding questions in the problem space. If you're unsure about something, don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask it, you're going to make assumptions, and then your work is going to suffer. Ask those questions. If it sounds like you're asking a billion questions, call it out. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry for asking all these questions, but I really have to understand this to do my work. So I don't know if you had a question, but that's just my approach as a fellow introvert. Yeah. And the other way is, what you could do is, talk to people, take some public speaking courses as well. Public speaking is not just about public speaking. They also help you with confidence and shifting your mindset on approaching interactions with people. So I hope that helps. I released a video a couple weeks ago on if you're nervous for your interview, what do you do? So that might be really helpful for introverts and shy people all around. I scrolled down to the chat, and someone Arena asks, what's your Meyers Briggs? Take a guess. Take a guess first before I answer it. Alrighty. Cool. So I'm covering a lot of questions here, but I think I'm getting close to the end. Akram Ali asks, so this one's pretty specific. Okay. All right. So we got some INFJ. So actually everyone says INFJ, so you're right. I'm INFJ. Woo. Cool. So good guess. What gave it away? Anyway, how to conduct research for landing page CTA is to download grocery stores app. I think so what I'm understanding the question to be is, how would you conduct a study to make sure the CTA for downloading the app is good or effective? So what I would do is understand how your current setup is like in your study right now. Get some data. What's your current conversion level for that CTA button, right? And what you could do is A/B test it. Now, A/B test sounds great, but sometimes A/B tests cost a lot of money to run, especially when you're running it live with real users. If you're a company like StubHub or Uber, an A/B test can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what you could do instead of a real live A/B test is A/B test it in a survey with a specific sample to make sure, hey, are people clicking it better? You could also do an in-person usability study just to make sure that it is usable. But I would go for quant in this case. I would go for quant in that case. So, and get a big enough sample size to make sure it's statistically significant, and just follow it up with a qualitative study to understand why it's doing better. Ruthcat suggested guerrilla testing. That's good too. If you want to just do it really cheaply, really quickly, that's a great idea as well. Yeah. Guerrilla testing, I would say, you can get, if you're doing within subjects where both your participant sees both versions, that you might not get, the like what their actual behavior is going to be when they're browsing a website. So that's, I think this is a good situation to combine both methods. But yeah, great suggestion for guerrilla testing, I'd say. All right, so Jerica and Fohan asks similar questions about what courses I would recommend to take online and from what site. I'm thinking of creating my own masterclass one of these days. If you want to provide me feedback, fill out that survey in the screen that you see. It'll help me understand what you might expect from it. But I'm just playing with the idea. Otherwise, I think this is a good time for me to plug the Interaction Design Foundation for you badass UX leaders who know. You can get 25% off if you use the link for my Interaction Design Foundation link. So you can take courses on research, design, management, and everything from that website. If you're looking for free courses, what you could do is go to Coursera, like I mentioned before, coursera.org, and audit the classes. There's Introduction to Human-Computer Interaction, questionnaire design for social surveys, gamification, and another thing is that you could do is business strategies. So these things gives you a 360 approach to being a UX researcher. Not just the methods, because everyone's going to know the methods, but how you balance all those things together to be a badass UX leader. Okay, so those are some courses I recommend. Okay. All right. Crystal asks, will I do this again? Yeah, definitely. I think this is really fun. It's my first time doing this to interact with all of you in the chat. I might consider doing a meetup where we can actually talk with each other. And also, if you want to support the channel, I have some perks and levels on Patreon. If you become a certain level, then we're gonna do live streams. We're gonna do like calls and whatnot, monthly and whatnot. So I hope that helps. Yeah, but I definitely will have some live streams on YouTube for all of you. Okay, Haley asks, do you think jobs care if you have done a boot camp or not? Do they prefer it? So if here's the caveat of doing boot camps. On one hand, it is good to show that you're committed, that you have taken a step to go down this this path, this journey of UX research. And when I see applicants who apply with a boot camp on their resume, I'm like, good for you. Let me see what else you've done. If the only thing that you've done is boot camp, chances are you've worked on group projects, and like 50 other people is going to have the same project as you. So make sure you stand out by doing other things on the side that you can apply strategies to help make you stand out. Now, do they prefer it? I think some people like it. I don't mind it. I think it shows that you are committed, especially when you're paying thousands of dollars to do it. And I think, it's what you make of it. If you're in the boot camp, if you manage to make impactful projects and work and not just come up with the same wireframes everyone else does, that's good. That's awesome. So, caveat, of course, I still think they're really expensive. So if you can afford it, if money's not a problem, or if your company can pay for it for you, why not? That's awesome. Alrighty. Oh, we got a lot of INFJs in here. I'm just getting to the chat right now, obviously. Wow, cool. ENFPs. Okay, so for those of you who are not really sure what these 4 letters are, this is the Meyers Briggs personality assessment. So that's the deal with all these letters. Most of my best friends are ENFPs. So INFJs, ENFPs get along pretty well, I would say. And I get along with most people anyway. Cool. Vinay, hey. I'm 40 now, with 12 years in IT as a developer, and I've knowingly done user research. What seniority of UX research job suits me? So yeah, I know a lot of people who have PhDs in research. I know a lot of people with masters. I know people who have transitioned from other fields into a junior role, and the reason is it's not based on the years of experience as a developer that can get you a senior role. It's whatever you've done as a researcher, to be honest. I would focus more on the expectation that the job is asking for. If they're asking for, are you able to work with different stakeholders? Have you done is inordinate amount of research work that shows impact? Do you know the different methods? I think you should base yourself on that rather than just years in a different field, because I know people who have spent 20 years in one field and jumping into UX research for the first time as a junior level. And that's sometimes the way it is, but it might not sound great because it feels like you're starting over. And I think if you really enjoy UX research and this gives you job satisfaction and makes you happy, you will be able to go up that rank very quickly anyway, based on your experience. If you can argue for it, negotiate for a higher position, go for it. Cool. Hope that helps. Alrighty. Cool. So I'm getting near the end of the comments and the chat. I'll answer a couple more questions, but happy to take on any final questions until 12 more minutes. I'll end this in about 12 minutes. But so far I'm having a lot of fun. If you are finding this useful, type in badass in the chat so far. Thank you so much for all your questions, by the way. All right. Do I know of any UX research in the Phoenix area? Where can I shadow them? I'm not familiar with Phoenix. I'm sure if you look up meetups in that area, you'll find some. Check out CHI or CHI, Computer Human Interactions. Yeah, badass. Woo! Yeah. So check out those types of groups. They usually have academic meetups. Go to your local maybe the university nearby has a psychology department. Maybe just stop in and talk to them. I don't know. If I were in your shoes, that's something that I would do. I would just straight up walk to the university, maybe after quarantine, and then talk to some of the department heads in psychology or information design or whatever. That's something I would literally do. Just hustle. Oh yes. Also, yeah. I finally. Oh my goodness. I forgot to turn it on. I fixed that light bulb. Finally. For those who've noticed that light bulb go out, I finally fixed it. Alrighty. Okay. Daniel Cheng. Where do you find your users apart from using an agency? I find it really hard to find right ones for our own projects. That's a good question. Reddit or r/sample size, that's one place where they allow people to recruit folks, and maybe you can ask some people. Respondent.io, you can use user interviews, user testing. You're going to have to pay for that, or you can just post depending on what your target group is. For example, if you want to learn about nurses, go to some Facebook group for nurses and join them and say you're doing a study. Incentives are important. You could try to get away with doing a free study, but if you can provide something for them, that'd be nice. That's always appreciated. You can also try Amazon MTurk. That's a good one. like I did in my follow along series, that's how I got really, really cheap participants really quickly. You might be paying 7 cents or 15 cents for one simple task. If you want a longer study, you might pay a couple dollars. Amazon MTurk is one of the probably, a good a good alternative for getting participants. Hope that helps. All right. Ruth Cat asks, were you asked to do a whiteboard challenge during your interview? Yes. At Google, I was asked to do it, and I had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, I was like, do I need to use the whiteboard? Because they asked me, how do I plan a study if I had 3 weeks to do, something? And I was like, I was holding the pen to the whiteboard. I'm like, I could just tell you what I would do. Do I have to use this whiteboard? Anyway, I didn't say that. I just started to draw the timeline. I'm like, here is week 1, what I would do in week 1, week 2, week 3, here's what I would do. And then I kind of just listed pros and cons. So that's what I ended up doing. It's interesting for a research interview. If it makes sense to do a whiteboard, do it. But I was taken aback. I was like, I could probably just answer this with words. But I'll just visualize it for you on the whiteboard if you want. So, Wesley Chan. Hey Wesley, who are my research heroes? Oh, great question. I think this is UX research heroes, but my research heroes have to be, I would say, for those of you who know me, know me, I'm a huge space nerd. I grew up loving astronomy and cosmology. When I was 8 years old, I knew Pluto wasn't a planet. I knew it. And when they called it out, I was like, I knew it all along. So my research science days goes back a really long time. And I think my favorite researchers have to be some of the old astronomers who defied the norms of the time. Newton or Galileo, who, the church would, excommunicate them for their research findings, but yet they're still after the pursuit of truth and knowledge. So that's who I look up to. Those are some of the astronomers research-wise. Now, in terms of UX researchers, I follow Steve Portugal a lot. He lives right here in the Bay Area. I want to meet him sometime. I've met Tomer Sharon, ex-Googler. He's currently the head of UX at Goldman Sachs. So these are some of the researchers I look up to. Yeah, and I think Susan Weinshank, a PhD, she when I was transitioning into UX research, I read a lot of her stuff as well. So that really helped me in my transition. Okay, Fohan asks, what are 3 most important qualities one should have if you're going to pursue UX research? The 3 most important qualities. Number 1 is low ego. Someone who's humble. Number 2 is creative. Thinking outside the box. Being able to triangulate not just quantitative and qualitative data, but just based on what's happening in the world, what else do they know that can help inform this project? Because if you want to be a badass UX leader, it's not enough to just know research methods. You should know the underpinnings of psychology, behavioral economics, why people make decisions. So having those knowledge would be able to help you. The third thing I would say is leadership ability. Leadership ability, being able to influence and communicate really well. You don't have to be a good speaker. You just have to be able to ask right questions, good questions, and break down problems and approach them systematically. So, again, humble, leadership ability. What was the other one? I think having just knowledge of thinking outside the box. Yeah. And you might be asking, a follow-up question could be, how do I think outside the box more? And that comes from, I think a book by Steven Johnson is where good ideas come from. Is you learn about things that are kind of adjacent to your industry or your field right now, and take those learnings and apply it to what you know and apply it to your job. So check out that book, Where Good Ideas Come From. Help you think innovatively and creatively. I need a book on how to speak better. Okay. All right. So we have a couple minutes. Yeah, I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I watched all the Cosmos. Carl Sagan, awesome. Yeah, Steve is awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm gonna start wrapping this up. Thank you for the 29 or 30 of you who have watched all the way to the end. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I'm definitely gonna have more in the future. And again, if I would appreciate it if you gave me some feedback, filling out that form that you see. I'm gonna just type it in so you have it. T1V2KHN. Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you so much, everybody. Be sure to fill in that form if you want to support the channel, get perks, chat with me more. Check out my Patreon, and yeah, hope you have a good rest of your day. I had a lot of fun doing this, and this recording will be put up very soon. I gotta edit it. I'm gonna take out all the uhs and ums. That's what I do. That's what my editing consists of, taking out uhs and ums. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, mad love, peace, take care.